In this final video, the final part, I'm going to be really refining everything now. So bringing up the highlights, taking down those darks and altering the contrast here and there. But first I'm going to do this left side background using the same technique. So it's very quick, very simple. Pencil on the side again. Blending it either with your finger or a paper stump is even better. With a stump you can get a much more even blend and you can really push it into that paper surface as well. So I'm going up and down because that's pretty much opposite to what we've seen with the fur texture. So that's going to differentiate it from the gorilla's head. Just a real simple background there. And two layers seemed better on the right hand side, so I'm going to do the same over here. Just to get that nice and even. In fact, that looks pretty good as it is. So highlight on the back of the head, just to, you can see how that's creating that kind of halo effect where that backlighting is just catching up that back side on there. And blended it slightly with my fingers. So back to the general's pencil because I want that sharp edge, and this part I'm doing now is with the silverback gorilla. It's just the part that's kind of coming from the back and over the shoulder. So I'm just increasing pressure, which is increasing the whiteness of that mark. And I find the finger is the best thing for subtle blending. So you know, if you want to just knock the harshness of that stroke off, then just slightly tapping it, dabbing it with the finger, that seems to just take it back and soften it really only a little bit. So I'm just adding those extra highlights now. So this is the parts of the fur that's on top of all the other parts. It's catching those little rays of light. So it's important to get the correct angle, to get these in the right position, because that's what people are going to see initially when they look at the drawing. They're going to see this highlight that's showing the shape and form a bit more. And you can see, as when I'm doing paintings as well, once I've got the major part blocked in, so at the stage I'm at now, everything's in place, it's then that I work over the whole of the drawing or over the whole of the canvas kind of at the same time. So rather than stay in one area now, I'm looking for the highlights on the reference photo, and that's where I'm, you know, just moving around the canvas in different positions and picking those highlights up. And you can see how even just a few minutes now, just 2 or 3 minutes, so that's starting to make quite a big difference to the drawing. So I'm going to carry on using the same technique now for a little while, and I'll speed up the drawing process again so you can see how this part comes together a little bit more. And I'm going to begin really bringing up the highlights around the face. So you can see where that underdrawing is really working for me now. It's laid the foundation. And now I can just put just a few hairs. They don't have to be all over the place. I don't want to add too many in one section because then I'll completely obliterate the underdrawing. So I'm using that darker underdrawing now to my advantage. Still got that white piece of paper that's protecting all that work underneath because I haven't sealed this charcoal drawing at all in any stage. So notice also how I'm changing position of my hand. So if I want those strokes as I'm doing now, I'm going different position. I may be dragging up or down, and then I change position if I'm doing hairs on the side of the face. Really pushing quite hard now. With charcoal you can't push hard like with a coloured pencil because it's going to break, but then you'll find that the whiteness comes out really opaque anyway with, you know, just about half that pressure. Now if I was using the Derwent at this stage I wouldn't be able to push anywhere near as hard, because as I said, that charcoal is a little bit softer with them. So you can see now how that section around the side of the face has really brought the gorilla forward and pushed that background back as well. And it's important to have areas of contrast like this, otherwise it's going to be a very, very boring drawing to look at. So I just assess what I need to do. This is a stage you don't want to rush at, so very often when I've got a drawing or a painting at this stage, I would have taken a day off or at least half an hour or so with a drawing, just to make sure I come back to it quite refreshed, because I don't want to rush this stage, because this is a stage that I could ruin it. So I'm going to continue building up those layers now, those details on top. So now I'm starting to block in that shoulder area. So same process as before, darker first. I'm going to then blend it with the stump. So I've created the underlayer, then I'll start detailing on top. So same process all the way through. The only thing I really want to be careful of here is it's quite dark under the chin, and I want to make sure that the chin actually does not end up the same tone, the same lightness or darkness as the shoulder, because then it's just going to disappear into it. So that's the only bit I'm going to be a little bit cautious and wary about here. So that's the shoulder pretty much done. So now I'm going to start working on the chin, and this is just the final parts of refinement now. So I need to build up the chin. It's quite a dark area. There's going to be some fine hairs on there as well. I want this edge to be fairly soft. There's only so much, with charcoal there's only so many layers, just like pastel, that you can get onto paper. And this paper, this Strathmore grey paper, is quite shiny to the surface as well, so I'm not going to be able to put too much on. When you got too much on there, you'll find no matter what you're doing, you can't get any more layers on there. So I wanted to blur that edge just slightly, so I'm using that harder stump because I don't want it to blend away. Sometimes I use, if I've gone into a dark area as I just did, then there's enough darkness and enough charcoal on the end of the stump so that I can use it elsewhere, almost like a pencil. So I'm going to put the dark area in first, then I'm going to put some lights on top. Okay, so now it's the final stages. So just the tiny little highlights here and there and the brightest whites. This is what I've saved it all for. So a couple of marks. It's going to give me the impression of the skin texture. The eyes are really the center of the interest of this drawing. So I want to concentrate quite a lot on there. And sometimes just a little mark here and there can really add interest. It's adding texture. That's what all this stage is about. You see I'm just dabbing here and there just to give that feeling of texture to the skin. I'm going to continue then over the whole face just to bring these final bits up. You know, the whole drawing took around about 2 hours or less, and I could keep working on it, but sometimes with a drawing you've got to think, have I said what I wanted to say with it? Is there any need to add more detail? And with some drawings and some paintings, I feel I want to add as much detail as possible. But then with charcoal, sometimes more is less. And sometimes you don't want to overdo it. And that, at this stage, that's what I'm thinking. That's what's going through my mind as well. So I'm just going to continue adding these details, then I'll speed up the video now, and then we can come back and see those final details going in. I decided I want to make that background a little bit darker, because that's then going to increase the contrast between the side of the face. So that's going to bring that all forward just a little bit more. So I'm just adding another layer here. Exactly the same technique. I'm being careful now not to go over the work I've already done, although it's not really a big problem with charcoal. I could have put those highlights in again. So just taking it slightly darker. I'm going to do the same on the left hand side as well. So once again, that up and down motion, just to make it different from the head. And then all I'm going to do now is start with the absolute final highlights and darks. Don't forget, you can use a pencil over the top as well if you want to subdue an area. This is the time where I want to blend and soften the back part so that the foreground elements of the face come forward more. So I'm just going to add those final details, and I hope that this series has been of interest to you. Charcoal, a lot of people, as I said in the very first video, people think charcoal is a very dirty medium, but if you do it quite carefully, it's not. And what I love about it is a really quick medium, if that's the way you want to do it. And you can be as loose or as detailed as you want, and the benefit over coloured pencil, you can very easily do light over dark. And that's the same with oils. Light over dark is something that's really, really useful, especially when you're doing wildlife art, where you've got lots of lighter fur over dark fur. So as I said, I hope you've enjoyed it. There's 4 videos in this free YouTube series. They're all on my channel, and I'll put a link at the end, so if you've missed them, you can go back and watch those and see the whole process from the very start all the way through to the final details. Hope you've enjoyed that video, and if so, I got lots more on my YouTube channel. And don't forget, the only way not to miss out on any new videos is to click the subscribe button. On my website, I've got full-length feature videos, I've got reference photo CDs and ebooks, and also the new Easy Trace line art tool. So hope to see you either on my YouTube or my website jasonmorgan.co.uk. See you all again real soon.